All right, Nick. Tough day today. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. Don't want to forget that. And another losing edition of Chatterbox Reds. This is going to be in my opinion, I think a very good show. Now, I do know why people might think that couldn't possibly be the case because of the way that the game went. And I do think it's reasonable to have a pretty good show tonight. No matter where you stand right now. Like if you stand on the side of the aisle that you think this team's absolutely horrific and they're going to finish in last place, maybe you just think it's a rough patch of baseball, or you're somewhere in between those two. There's a lot to discuss tonight. I know, Nick, you had a busy day today, but there's more bigger picture questions maybe than there are of the nuances of every single minute detail of a game. So I'm sure we'll get into all of it. Nick, I'll just ask you on the forefront here before we get into baseball, though. Just your Mother's Day go semi-well. Well, you got 3 of them now, so it's a little different.
Yeah, it was good. Went and got some ice cream.
Nice.
This afternoon, my kids rolled down a hill for about like an hour.
On purpose, right?
On purpose, yeah.
Okay,
it was like
good.
a little hill that
Nice.
You can run. Kids do that, and it was great because now they're sleeping very well. So that's good. Just kept rolling down, rolling back up. So, full transparency, I watched about 20 pitches of this game. I was fortunate enough to see the 0-2 pitch that Lucas Sims threw. So I did see that and caught a lot on the radio. Shout out to Tommy Thrall and the Cowboy. I don't listen to the radio very often because it is typically pretty important for me to visualize and see the game to do these shows. Those guys are fantastic. They do a really good job at painting the picture. If you're trying to, like I am, try to actually, understand what's going on to be able to talk about it later. So shout out to those guys. They do an incredible job.
Yeah. I just want to get out in front of this. I had to put Reed Mouse in timeout. I love Reed. I really do love Reed. He's a great employee. He's a great friend. But I'm not going to do it tonight. I'm not going to do it. He's in timeout. He's in timeout for the next 30 minutes. And if this show goes over 30 minutes and he decides he wants to, be mindful that he's at a funeral, then I'll let him be here. But if he's just going to come in the funeral with a tuxedo shirt on and act like there's a party, then sorry. That's where we're at. Okay. I don't know if I listen. The box score recap, it might put me in another. It might just kind of like be one of those situations where it's too soon. And I know we're going to do the box score recap.
We better. I just spent 20 minutes working on this thing.
I know you were, and I know you have been. I'm trying to make sure you feel good and you feel good to go about this. You feel good to go about this, Nick.
I'm ready to roll.
All right. So I was just trying to buy you some time if you needed it, but the truth is I really don't want to hear it again. But since you worked so hard on it, I guess I'll sit here and suffer through. So go ahead, Nick, and give us the box score recap, please.
All right. Again, sure, I'll miss something because, like I said, I didn't watch a whole lot of it. Top of the first, TJ Friedl was hit by a pitch. He ended up stealing second base. Spencer Steer walked with 1 out. Fairchild walked with 2 outs to load the bases. And Jeimer Candelario smoked a ball 104 off the bat, 407 feet off the top of the wall. It was reviewed for a homer, but it did stand, cleared the bases, 3-0 Reds. TJ Friedl, unfortunately, would leave the game. He said that after the game, it was his left thumb that got hit. He's going to see a hand specialist in Arizona to get some more imaging done tomorrow. Frankie Montas did not give up a hit until the 4th inning. He did get some help when Stuart Fairchild robbed Lamonte Wade Jr. of extra bases. Reds still led 3-0 going into the bottom of the 5th. Montas gave up back-to-back hits, and then Lamonte Wade Jr. hit a 321-foot home run, just barely fair down the right field line, tying the game up at 3. Montas would end up giving up 2 more runs in the inning, the 5th run scoring on a throwing error from Elly De La Cruz on a slow roller that bounced in front of first baseman Jeimer Candelario and took an unfortunate hop into right field, 5-3 Giants. Reds would get a run back in the top of the 7th on 3 straight 2-out singles from Steer, Jonathan India, and pinch hitter Jake Fraley, making it a 5-4 game. In the top of the 8th, Mike Ford crushed a leadoff home run to straightaway center field, his first homer as a Red, tying the game up at 5. Reds bullpen just put up 0 after 0, including Alexis Diaz dodging an error by Steer in left field to put the winning run in scoring position in the bottom of the 9th. Game would go into extra innings. Santiago Espinal led off with a strikeout. Tyler Stevenson grounded out. Will Benson walked. Benson did steal second base, but then Elly De La Cruz struck out to end the inning. And then in the bottom of the 10th, Emilio Pagan started off the inning. He struck out Yastrzemski, got Ramos to fly out. Then he walked Blake Sable. Freddie Benavidez, managing because David Bell had to leave the game due to an illness early in this game, went to Lucas Sims. Lucas Sims got ahead 0-2 in the count, but he hung a pitch, and it was hit into the outfield to end the ball game. Reds lose 6-5. Reds now 17-23 on the season. Reds have lost 13 of 16. Reds now 1-8 in one-run games after a year ago going 34-29.
All right, and we have a deep drive of the day, powered by Mike Ford. It was a big home run. I mean, we can act like, we can gloss over it and all that, and that's fine. We'll do it, and I'm sure we will. And it doesn't help that he went 1 for 5 on the day, and I'm sure that many people will point to that when we bring up the Mike Ford home run. But he did. Mike Ford had a big home run, his first one of the season for the Cincinnati Reds. It was in the top of the 8th. It tied the baseball game at 5 apiece. 106 mile an hour off the bat, 427 feet, 26 degrees. And it jumped the win probability for the Reds a whopping 25%, which would make it a 50% at the time. And as we all know, it ended up being 0%. So the deep drive of the day is sponsored by DSC, and they are a leader in renewable commodities for biofuel production, specializing in used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information. And thank you to his team, John and his team at DSC. And listen, I think I think there's so many things to get into today that I don't know if we don't have enough time. And I know people probably think that that's a joke, but there's genuinely a bunch of questions I have. I guess I'll start with, I know we have kind of the 1-run loss on there again, but this is the first time in probably 2 weeks, I'd say, in my humble opinion, that the Reds should have. They lost the game. Now, I think that people might misinterpret what I'm getting ready to say, but this is the first time in back-to-back days they actually lost the game. And I know everyone's going to say, well, what about the losing streak? Sometimes the teams are just better than you, and they outplay you, and they have better players. But the last 2 nights, it feels like this team's finding ways to lose now. And I'm starting to question whether or not this is going to be bold, maybe. And I'm not trying to be bold or hot takey or anything like that. But at some point, you do question leadership when you start to see the things that we see. And maybe it's just guys aren't good at baseball and they're not making the right plays and things of that nature. But you just, and I know David Bell, heaven forbid, Benavidez, or I think that's his name. What's the bench coach's name?
Freddie Benavidez.
Freddie Benavidez, and listen, I'm sure he's a great guy, I've been told that he is, and he did not do a very good job of making this case to be a major league manager today either. It's just a lot of head scratching moves, in my opinion, and now you find yourself in a position where whatever they've been doing isn't working, and maybe I'm overreacting, but it's like the whole concept or the notion of what they've continued to do to think, oh, this is going to get us out of rut. Like, how long do you discipline your kids or you parent your kids in a way in which you think is right, and then they continue to do something that's not right until you say, you know what, maybe we should do something different? And I think that's where I'm at now. Now, people are going to be like, well, what are you supposed to do, Trace? And I know people are going to joke about, throwing bats or coming to the press conference and ripping guys' tails, but it's just only so many times that you can continue to watch this team play and think to yourself that there shouldn't be some semblance of a difference. And maybe it's on the players for leadership, and I'm not looking at Jonathan India square in the face, but listen, if you're going to say you're a leader on this team, well, now's the time to lead. We need somebody to step up. I'll give Candelaria some credit. He's at least started to make some plays, and he looks relatively competent, and I think he's got some leadership qualities to him. So before I go on a long rant, I just want to get it out there and say there needs to be some really hard looks into the way that this club goes about their business to figure out whether or not there needs to be a change or not. And I'm not suggesting David Bell needs to be fired per se, but maybe some of the ways in which we've gone about the beginning of these seasons needs to be looked upon as a little differently, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that last year there was a lot of overreaction to the Reds going 34-29 in one-run games. I don't think that was sustainable, especially with the roster the Reds had last year. I think there's probably now a little bit of overreaction to the Reds being 1-8 in one-run games. Now, that doesn't mean that the Reds are a great team or anything. That's only, a couple games. But if they're 5-4, they're above 500 right now. If they're 4-5, they're one game below 500. And I think that's probably where this team is closer to where they're actually at. You hope that evens out, but nonetheless, it seems just didn't have a lot of margin for error, and that margin for error is continuing to dwindle down. So I personally don't think it's some big giant leadership thing. I think that it's a lot of unfortunate things, a lot of poor performances. It's just been a mixture of everything, and it's kind of been what could have gone wrong, whether it's things that could be controlled or not be controlled, has gone wrong.
There is some semblance of truth when you look at the standings and at the end of the season. I'm sure that the Reds, when you get into the analytics, and no one cares about that right now, but last year the Padres, everyone was talking about how good the Padres were, right? And I just kept kind of saying, like, are we sure the Padres are going to be there at the end? I know that the expected win-loss rate is a lot different than what they actually are, but this team, at the end of the year, I'm sure we're going to look at what their expected win-loss should have been, and it's probably going to be better than whatever they finish. Now, maybe they resurrect this start, or I'm going to call it a start because it's May 12th. I know that they got off to a 14-10 start, but right now, I think when you look at the first, what are we at? About almost a month and a half now into the season. That's still the start to me. Maybe I'm wrong in saying that, but I wouldn't really say, maybe at the end of this month I'll conclude the fact that we're starting to get past the start of the season. But there's just so many places I should go. This is where I should keep notes. The biggest thing that jumps out to me is another one-run loss, and there's just so many situations that they could have found a way to win the game. It's just there's and I guess we have to start somewhere, right? And I'll start with Sims. Pagan obviously comes in the game. Benavidez makes a decision to pull out Pagan. And Pagan, I know, hasn't been unbelievable this season. I get that. But I thought he looked pretty good. He certainly did his job. When you have a base open, too, I don't mind a walk. That's the thing. Like, when I was watching Pagan throw the ball, I wasn't thinking to myself he had command issues whatsoever. And perhaps whether it was analytics or whether it was just a gut by Benavidez, which I highly doubt he's going off of gut. But If he was, it was a bad decision. But regardless, you bring in Sims, who's not been very good this year. And this is the part that really, I don't know, piss is a bad word, but it really upsets me. Sometimes you got to have feel, man. You got to have a little bit of feel for the game. And I don't mean to kill Stevenson for this, because ultimately I know what he was trying to do. If you didn't remember or you didn't get a chance to see it, the pitch sequence went just like this. You had a first pitch breaking ball for a strike. You had a second pitch breaking ball that wasn't really all that close, but the guy bid on it because Sims does have a good breaking ball if he throws it well. So he swings, he check swings, strike 2. He looks very lost right now, for being honest. He took the first pitch for a strike, didn't look like he wanted it at all, kind of, looked terrible on the second pitch. So to give Stevenson credit, or whoever's calling these pitches credit, they went breaking ball again, which he missed by a mile. He was trying to throw it outside. He was trying to start it on the outside corner and let it break off the plate and try to get a swing and miss. Instead, it ended up like, I believe it was up and in on the hitter. But again, he kind of check swinged real fast, and it bounces off the bat. And then for the life of me, I understand why you might want to throw a fastball just to maybe change the speed or change the eye level, whatever it is. But I don't understand how you can be a major league player and miss a fastball that bad. I mean, we're talking middle fastball, and unfortunately it got smashed. And you're looking at yourself and you're thinking, 0-2. The guys looked absolutely clueless on 3 or 4 straight sliders. And we decided to throw a fastball right down the middle. And I mean, when I say down the middle, I don't know, I'm sure that we could pull up the game day, but you couldn't possibly throw it, in a better spot for him to barrel up. And I would just say this. I love Elly De La Cruz too. But like, the difference is that unfortunately Elly, he swung right through his 95-mile-an-hour cookie, and they didn't miss it. And right now, that's the difference. This team's not executing when they need to execute in close, meaningful games that they can't afford to lose, because this team's not good enough to overcome this. I really don't believe they're good enough to overcome this. What I mean by that is, like, it'd be one thing if you're the Braves and you have a week and a half and you're just not playing good at all, because in the back of your mind, okay, instead of winning 98 games, maybe we win 90. Just not the case for this team. And maybe we're missing McClain and we're missing Marte, and that's the real crux of the problem. But I just continue to find myself thinking that this team's just not good, Nick. I hate to say that, but that's where I'm at.
I didn't understand what the logic was to what they were doing in the bottom of the 10th, because you've already used 1, 2, 3, 4. Pagan was the 5th reliever.
5th reliever, yes.
If you get out of that inning, you have to throw another inning after that.
Correct.
If you're that worried about Pagan, start with Sims. What was the? I mean,
it's
Sims
called David. It's called Benavidez just being lost.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, Sims is probably a better pitcher for that individual situation, but Pagan's making $8 million. You got to trust him there.
Right.
He pitched fine. He struck out Yastrzemski. He got Ramos to fly out. Maybe a little bit generous in that ballpark.
Right. Went
he
full
walked
count.
Sable. He walked Sable. He should have walked Sable. Honestly, they should have intentionally walked Sable. I don't know why they even tried to pitch to him. I mean, Blake Sable is a guy that is off to a great start. Last year was close to a league average hitter. Casey Schmidt last year had a 55 weighted runs created plus. He only got called up because they have a ton of injuries.
Yeah.
Like, Casey Schmidt is the guy you want to face.
Hasn't had a hit all year.
Yeah, I mean, like, Pagan was fine. I just don't understand how that move would have helped you win the game. Like, even if they would have got out of that,
they were going to bring Sims back out again, I'm guessing.
You're going to need Sims another. That to me was wild, that whole sequence. And I mean, yeah, Sims has got to be better than that. You can't hang an 0-2 pitch to a guy that's desperate for you to hang an 0-2 pitch.
Yeah. Well, it was a fastball too. I mean, not like he hung a breaking ball. And I'm not suggesting that if he hung a breaking ball, I'd be sitting here thrilled to death. But at least you could convince me that he just misexecuted on a pitch, and that's what it was. He was trying to throw another breaking ball, and it spun up there. But when I tell you, he looked. I mean, what was the poor kid's name that hadn't had a hit all season? He's very forgettable. What was the last guy that got
Casey Schmidt?
Casey Schmidt couldn't have possibly been. He couldn't have possibly looked worse the first 2 pitches. The first pitch was just a breaking ball. He took it. And it was a pretty good. I mean, you're not going to swing at a first pitch breaking ball anyways, more times than not, but he took it. The next pitch, it looked like a Diaz swing. And everybody knows what I mean with the Diaz swing. Like, it just was like, why in the hell would you swing at that? So to be fair, they threw, I think another breaking ball, maybe two more, whatever it was. It just, but again, we're focusing on one at bat at the end of the game that obviously that made the difference. But as a whole, we find ourselves again, this Reds offense, we'll jump into that. Like, this Reds offense, you start the game off and you have good at bats, man. You have such good at bats and you're feeling so good about yourself. You're going against a guy that you know you should be able to get to. And Candelario hits a ball, and this is where like everyone's like, God, I'm so tired of listening to the luck stuff. I could care less. I know a guy earlier in the game hit a 319-foot home run that was just basically a wind tunnel, and I get it. It's a little bit of poor luck. But my point is like, you can't score 3 runs in the first inning and then genuinely find yourself in a position where you just don't add on. And if we're one swing away from being right back in the same situation we've been in all year long. Like, if Candelario doesn't square that ball up, he flies out. They score 2 runs. They score 2 runs today. 1 run. It's just such bad luck, too, because Ellie had a bad day. Like, of all the days we need Ellie De La Cruz to be Ellie De La Cruz like he's been all season, today's the day, and he unfortunately comes up in a big spot. He swings through it. Jonathan India, when we need him to get a hit, he doesn't get a hit. When we need him not, it doesn't. And when he comes up with 2 outs and nobody on, he decides to get a hit thin. It's just like, you can't win for losing with this team, man. And as far as TJ Friedl goes, what a joke, too. Like, absolute joke. I'm going to try to say nice things, but I can't. Like, it's just very indicative to me. And whether it was the broadcaster's fault or whoever's fault it was, I don't give a damn whose fault it was. It just goes right in line with everything else we're told. The guy gets hit. He obviously stays in the game for a minute. So be it. Comes out. They do an x-ray. We're told, good news on the broadcast. Good news. The x-ray came back negative, and it's just a bone contusion. Okay, all right, fine. Well, next inning or whatever the hell it was, like, well, actually, we got misinformation. It's not a negative. It's inconclusive. Like, all right. I mean, do we know what the hell's going on around here? We're about as clueless, and I don't know if you've seen it, Nick, but for those that want to have a good laugh, and by good laugh, I mean it's kind of like embarrassing, Top Rank last night, I'm the only loser that watches boxing still. Top Rank last night has two females fighting for a world championship, and the ring announcer announces he announces the wrong scorecard. He told one lady she won the world championship. She didn't win the world championship, so then he just rereads it all again, and then the other one won. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. And that's what it reminded me of today when we're out here trying to report on TJ Friedl. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what's coming. We don't know what's going. We think that some guys are hurt. They'll be out 2 weeks, and I'm sure now TJ Friedl, and maybe I'm being super negative because I'm tired of watching this team, I'm sure he'll be out for 3 months too. Like, I certainly hope. I'll tell you this right now, Nick. I will actually join the bandwagon of people saying this training staff, and then I don't know who the hell who's. It might have just been shout out to Bally, but it might have just been Bally to be fair. But if it comes out this guy's got actually a broken thumb and he's out again for another whatever it's going to be 10 weeks, like can't get TJ Friedl right, can't get CES right. Matt McLean, he obviously supposedly tweaks an oblique. He'll be fine, no big deal. He'll be back in 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden, no, he's not back till August. Nick Lodolo, he was going to come back last year, remember? And then all of a sudden now it's like, well, he might be ready by spring training. He's not even ready to start the year. Like, what in the actual hell is going on? Is it just do they just want to play games and give us misinformation? Or do they just want to keep, not knowing how to tell us the truth? I don't know. And to be fair, I don't have a PhD. I know nothing about being a doctor. So there's that.
I need to talk to fans of other teams about this kind of stuff. As I'm curious if this is like, does every team gotta have this thing where they feel like they get a lot of information? Is it just like the age that we're in, where there's so much information instantly to you that this kind of thing feels like it happens a lot? I don't know the answer to it.
then don't say nothing. If you don't want to say anything, that's fine. Like if you're just like, hey, we're going to keep that private. We're trying to get all the reports out. That's fine.
I'm sure that would go over well, though.
Well, I mean, just lying or telling us something that's not true is worse. I mean, hell, I listen. If my wife doesn't love me, I'd love if you just come out and tell me you don't love me. That's fine. We can move. We can all get sour about it, and then we can move on. But don't sit here and tell me that you're one way and you're not. And again, maybe they're not lying. Maybe it's just bad luck. But we're like 5 people in now, and I'm starting to ask myself, does anybody out here know what the hell's going on? And it certainly doesn't feel like it at times. And maybe it's just because we're all mad and sad and, we've been through hell and back. I mean, listen, Pete Rose out here talking about he'd go through hell and back and he'd go through hell in a gasoline suit to play baseball. I mean, Reds fans, we basically go through hell to pay Bally Sports. Think about us. We're going through hell in a gasoline sports to pay for Bally Sports on, the Ocho. Basically, you got to pay $195 a month to be able to watch the Reds play. And here we are. This is what we get out of it. We get to watch piss poor baseball. Anyway, I'm just telling you how I feel. I'm sure there's many people that are probably saying amen right now.
I think it'd be a good time for a 988 ad.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, listen. I mean, it's a serious thing, but I mean, people think of it. We some people tune into the Reds to try to escape, the realities of life at times. You just want to sit back on your couch, drink a cold one, baby. Maybe you don't like drinking cold ones. Maybe you like coffee. Maybe you like whatever it is, a lemonade, an Arnold Palmer, and you just want to sit back and you want to watch the Reds, and it just makes you feel better. It makes you feel better. Maybe you get a cigar, makes you feel better. Just like living life. You want to watch the Reds play. And you know what? You didn't think to yourself that this is not helping you at all in life. Makes you more upset. Makes you more depressed. And if you are depressed, then you have to call 988 or text 988. Okay? You're a man and you have issues. We all have them. Sometimes in life you have it more times than others. Just ask Nick Martini or maybe Bubba Thompson. Ask them. They'll tell you. If you need help, call 988. Text 988. Go to marintherapy.org. See if they can diagnose the issue. And they'll try to help you out. In any way possible, they'll help you out. I'm trying to that was an accident. That was an accident. I don't even know what I did there. I think I just hit the outro. Maybe we should do the outro. I don't know. Because the truth is this is brutal. I tried to come on here tonight, and I tried to give some reasonable conversation around what we should do or this, that, and the other. And to be honest, we need better players. We need some better players. With all due respect to Espinal, he had 2 hits today. When he came up in the 10th inning, I just thought to myself, this is where we're at in life. Matt McClain, have we ever considered playing him with one arm? Because he's probably better than India. Just saying. I don't know, man. I'm sorry that I'm ranting, and I'm sorry that folks have to watch this on an everyday basis. But that's just who we are. We love the Reds, and that's not even getting into Fraley. I mean, I love Fraley to death, but he about dropped a pop up. We have Espinal, who overran a pop up in the infield. We have Candelario, who's not able to pick a baseball clean. Will Benson, by the way. He's nowhere to be found on a pop-up, and poor Spencer Steer, who can't, he's basically as fast as Kevin Newman. He drops a ball in the outfield, so it requires Diaz to get another out. By the way, if Diaz doesn't get that out, we're talking about Spencer Steer being a guy that can't catch a pop-up. Ellie De La Cruz is 95, maybe 120 feet in the outfield trying to catch a ball over his shoulder, and Will Benson's just staring at him. You're the center fielder, Will. If you can't hit, at least run and catch a pop-up. So, I'm tired of them. I am so sick and tired of half this team, man. They offer literally next to nothing. Next to nothing. And I know there's nobody out there for help. And yeah, that's the most frustrating part. It's the most frustrating part. I mean, Will Benson is literally staring at Ellie De La Cruz trying to run 120 feet in the outfield to catch a pop-up, and he sees Spencer Steer, who he has to know He has to know Spencer Steer is the slowest outfielder on this team. And by slow, I mean slow. You can't be any slower than Spencer Steer. And I love Spencer Steer. He's a great hitter. But by God, if he's playing left field in the outfield for your favorite team, you're probably wishing you had a better outfielder. And I love Spencer Steer. Take no disrespect, please. But my God, somebody and just somebody be something positive for this team outside of like 2 or 3 people. So, if you want to say that I'm being overly pessimistic or I'm jumping to conclusions too soon, I'm sorry. But this team sucks. Until we get some better players, they're not going to be any better. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But by God, we got as much starting pitching as you possibly could have gotten. Our bullpen was great. You turn around and you look and you're like 3 of your last 14 or whatever the hell they've been. And you ask yourself, what happens if just maybe the bullpen blows it a couple games? What happens if the starting pitching does give up like 6, 7 runs? Then what? Like, in St. Louis right now, they're thinking about boycotting their damn team, and they're also trying to get rid of their manager. I don't know if you've looked, but we're having just as bad of a season. I don't know. Who do we call up? I really don't have an answer for that either. But boy, oh boy, do they've really done it to themselves this year. They've really made themselves proud, I'm sure. But anyway, TJ Friedl, he's probably hurt. Probably out for the season.
I don't think he's out for the season. I don't think a thumb typically ends a season.
I don't know if he's. I'm really glad you didn't watch this game, Nick. The Giants suck too, by the way. What's their record?
19-23.
Yeah, they're ass too. Wait until the end of the season. They're going to be terrible. I got news for you. So I watched the series and I thought to myself, we should have swept this team. Which makes me think they're bad. They're terrible.
They honestly probably the only team in baseball that has had worse injury luck than the Reds. I mean, they have.
Yeah, they had another guy go down today.
Yeah, and he's one of their best players. Been playing well. They lost Conforto yesterday. It's been they've had a really tough season too. A game like today is a game that it is what it is. If it's in the middle of a 5-5 stretch or whatever, when it's 13 out of 16, it's magnified. You're going to lose games like this. It stinks.
Trying to be positive. I like that out of you.
Stinks they did fight back. I don't think the season's over. I think there's a higher hill to climb. I mean, I don't know. I feel like everyone that said the season's over said the Reds were going to the playoffs last August 1st.
Season's never over. Season's never over. So I do want to say that out loud. Season's not over. Season's never over until it's over, as Yogi Berra might say. But yeah, Nick, where's the positive come from then? I mean, I listen. I know that you're pretty grounded. I'm pretty emotional at times when I watch this team. Where's the hope?
The hope is Candelario's playing better.
That is true.
He's honestly, I'm not a lineup guy, but I don't know why he's hitting as low as he is right now. Because he's been a pretty good hitter over the last several weeks. I'd probably like to see him getting more at bats. India, who looked as dead as you could look yesterday, had 3 hits today. I don't know if it means anything, but that was a positive development.
The one time he struck outs when we couldn't eat, it's just crazy.
The Reds' bullpen had been struggling of late. I think the Reds' offensive woes really masked, the fact that the Reds' bullpen had pitched pretty poorly over the last couple weeks. Pitched great today, threw five innings with no earned runs because that last run is not an earned run. The bullpen was incredible. I mean, that's an unbelievable job. I mean, look, and they're facing a weak lineup, sure. Probably even weaker than the Reds, if we're being completely honest. But they did their job. I mean, how they only walked 2 batters in those 5 innings, through strikes, and one of them was Pagan, which I think was a pitch around to Sable. I think they should have intentionally walked him. So, they pitched well. Look, I don't know. You hope that this turns. You hope that, some of the things that have been going the Reds' way go the Reds' way. I don't know. Baseball's funny. It very well might end up being something really stupid that we go, how did the Reds win these games? You hope that it turns like that, but I don't know. I can't predict that that's going to happen. I can't guarantee that's going to happen. That's why you play these games every day. That's why the worst team in baseball isn't a sure thing. Playing against the best team in baseball every day, it's a long season, and there's so many highs and so many lows, and right now it's pretty low.
It is low. For those that are wanting to know, from a look ahead's perspective, you have the Diamondbacks for a 3-game set. You got the Dodgers for a 4-game set. What Nick's talking about is to be fair about this whole situation is that, and I know people are going to laugh, and I would too if I were you, but you find a way where you certainly have to take 2 or 3 from the Diamondbacks, and then from there you take 3 or 4 from the Dodgers, or you sweep the Dodgers. Like I know that sounds dumb, but if you were to sweep the Dodgers 4 games straight, which is, like I said, that's, you can laugh if you want now. This is the time to laugh. Insert the old sitcom laugh track. But if you did that, then you find yourself in a position where you're like, you know what? All in all, not a bad road trip. Yeah, you look back at this stretch, and you look at the Orioles series. You can't hit a baseball to save your life. Go back to the Diamondbacks, the series, and they had a chance to win 2 or 3 there, but they ended up getting swept. And I know people are going to think we're crazy, but I think you could have swept this series, and you end up losing 2 or 3. So, as much as I am sitting here suggesting this team's terrible, some of that's because I've watched a baseball game today that I felt like they jumped out to an early lead, and then they watched it evaporate, and then they fought their way back. You get yourself into a situation in the 10th inning where you had an excellent opportunity to break through and score, and you don't. It's just tough, and you watch Sims come in and do, unfortunately, what Sims done far too often this year, which is not get outs when it matters the most. All right, TJ Friedl, we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, I mentioned earlier, got hit in the thumb, of course, on the first at bat of the game, and it looked bad. He looked like he was in pain, but again, X-rays supposedly came back negative. Now it turns out that it's inconclusive. He's going to go see a hand specialist, and I don't know, Nick. There's just no other options either. There's no Calvary, is there?
There's one guy I would like to see the Reds give a shot. I think it's a little crazy. Yeah, look, guy hit a home run for Dayton today. He's a guy that there's not really a whole lot more that he's going to gain from the minor leagues.
Right.
He's a guy that I think could put the ball in play. I think that the Reds could use that kind of guy right now.
I agree.
Call him up. I think, what do you have to lose? Give
I
Jacob
agree, Nick.
He's a shot. He's older. And I'm selfish because I interviewed the guy and I really, really like him. So maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid a little too much, but I really like the guy. I'd love to see him get a shot. It'd be a cool story, and it can't be much worse. It can't be much worse.
No, I would agree with that. I mean, he's been a grinder. He came from nothing in regards to baseball life. I mean, he was not a highly touted prospect. He wasn't a highly touted prospect out of high school. And he finds himself in a position where he's done nothing but find ways to literally, and I know it's a little funny, but he's done nothing but get on base and find himself to where you just can't get rid of him in an organization. People might suggest you're trying to get rid of him, but you know what? Can't get rid of him. So I don't know. I mean, I don't mind that at all either, to be honest. So maybe Hurtubise will come up and he'll be like a poor version of TJ Friedl, or who knows? Maybe we get lucky and he's just as good, if not better. But certainly seems like TJ Friedl is going to be out for another couple weeks at minimum. I could be wrong, but my best guess is he'll be back in July.
Hurtubise is a guy that had a .479 on base percentage last year. between Double-A and Triple-A. This guy he gets on base. I'd love to see them give a guy like him a shot. I don't know. I would like to see that. Well, what I will say, 2018 Reds lost 95 games, swept the Dodgers in a 4-game series. Dodgers won 92 games that year. Made absolutely no sense at the time. That's why you play these games. That's why you play them every day. We'll see what happens. I don't know. I think it's fun, I guess, for people. There's no way they're going to win that game, and they probably will. Just like this weekend, the one series that damn it, the one. I guess we've been on too long. It's time to shut her down. That is definitely the shut her down right there. I don't know, but this weekend, the one game that I felt the most confident, right back there, the one game that I felt most confident in was Saturday, and that was the game that was the game the Reds lost by 4 runs.
Yeah, it turns out I look at the stream. We've been on for 40 minutes and 48 seconds, so it turns out that 30-minute timer ran out. Good news is, chat, we put another 30-minute on there.
Let's go.
But it did make me laugh, so I do appreciate that out of Reed. That was nice. I really could use that.
I love how he was waiting.
100%. He put a timer on his phone and everything. There's no doubt. I don't know, folks. But let's do some really quickly. And I know from your perspective, we don't make a mockery here of the supers, or of your podcast. But we'll do some quick supers here. Yash, been a member for 4 months. Thank you, Yash. He says, the sports teams of this city and the people irritate me. Hopefully a better experience when I visit this year. Otherwise, I guess I'd just stay in New York. Some of the rudest I've met. Yash, if you're trying to go to New York because you're not happy with the people in Cincinnati, I got news for you, brother. It's going to be tough sledding.
Yash, come up to Cleveland. We'll go to a game.
Tough sledding, as Tom would say. Ned Flanders says, Nick, are we any good? With a question mark. 20th super chat from him, by the way. 20th super chat from Ned.
I think that this is an average team right now that's played a little underperformed by the combination of everything, like I mentioned. I think you have Matt McClain, you have Noel V. Marte. I think you're a slightly above average team. How far are they above average? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. There's too many young guys. You still have guys that you need to figure out. I think we probably went a little overboard on some of these guys in penciling them in as for sure things. But you know what? It's a long season. We might in 2 months be like, I can't believe we doubted that Will Benson was going to figure it out. I can't believe that we doubted, whoever else. Just look at Jeimer Candelario. Like, feel completely about that guy than I did 2 weeks ago. So it'll be interesting to see how we feel about these guys the month after this and the next month and the next month.
All right, let's do a fun little game here before we end the show, or before we get to Reds MIB and then we'll end the show. As we go through the diamond, what are guys that you actually think like, hey, you know what? I'll go to war with these guys. Like I feel confident that this guy being on my team, we're gonna get it done at some point. He might not be playing well right now. Doesn't matter. We still believe in him. Or maybe he's playing great and you think he'll play great the rest of the year. Let's start at catcher, Tyler Stevenson. I'll let you go first, and I'll finish each one.
I think Tyler Stevenson is a starting catcher.
I agree. I don't hate the idea of Tyler Stevenson being the starting catcher.
You could do better, but you could do a lot worse.
I completely agree. Now, this is where it's tough because who do we actually say is our DH? Now, here's the thing with the DH. It's been bad. So I think that's a pretty fair assessment, yeah?
I think we have about 1.5 to 2 outfield DH types.
In a perfect world, I'll tell you who's the Reds DH. Spencer Steer.
Yeah.
I think you put Spencer Steer in there as a DH, and then from there, maybe it's I know people are going to think I'm crazy for saying this, but if a lefty's hitting, and I'm not saying it's Mike Ford, but it's somebody that's got some pop to them, and they have decent splits against a left-handed pitcher, and you give Spencer Steer maybe every so often. You want to keep him in the lineup. You can kind of sneak him in to into first base every so often. And I know people think I'm crazy for saying that, but that's kind of where I'm at. All right, so let's move into first base, I guess. Then been bad. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think Jeimer Candelario is supposed to be your first baseman. And I think if he's your first baseman, I'd feel okay with that. Because Noel Marte is supposed to be your third baseman. The problem is everything had a chain effect. Jonathan India is supposed to be a platoon player. He's supposed to be playing 33% of the time, but he's playing 100% of the time. Jake Fraley and Will Benson are platoon players. One of them have been having to play every single game. Everything has had an impact by McLean and Marte. It's not just that those guys have been out. It's that you've had guys that were supposed to be platoon players have to not be platoon players. We'd probably look at Jonathan India completely different if he was only playing 1 out of every 3 or 4 games, coming off the bench, being in the role that he was supposed to be in. Remember, this guy was playing the outfield in spring training. This guy was playing first base in spring training. He's been at second base every single day all year. That was never even remotely supposed to be part of the plan. That was plan C or D or whatever it ended up being. That's the problem. I mean, there's only, in my opinion, looking at the roster right now of the guys that are in there, Friedl, Ellie, Steer, Stevenson, Candelario. Those are the only guys that I think are everyday MLB starters or close to it. Everyone else is a piece that fits in a puzzle. It would fit nicely if the whole puzzle was there, but there's so many pieces that are in Arizona or wherever.
California.
Suspended.
No, you're right. I mean, that's the sad part of all of this. But I guess we'll go to each position here really quickly as we kind of do this game. And this is why I wanted to do this is because you start to realize the actual issues of this team. So far, we're really disappointed in our DH. So far, we're really disappointed out of the production we've gotten out of first base. Now, guess what? Let's do second base. I'll answer it for you. Trash. You don't have to say it. I'll say it again. I'm speaking for Nick. Nick can correct me if he thinks I'm wrong. Absolute trash. Trash. Bottom of the league.
You have a player that's not a second baseman playing second base.
Thank you. All right. So
he's
there we go.
He's a platoon player. He's a platoon player.
So let's recap again. Let's have some fun here tonight. We got a catcher that we think's okay, serviceable. You know, we're not going to take the risk on it if we're going to have to randomly get an auto generator to select our catcher. We're going to stick with Stevenson. But then when we go to DH, we would 100% take the auto generator. We'd go to first base, we're 100% taking the auto generator. We go to second base, we're 100% taking the auto generator. We go to third base, and now you're going to say, well, what about third baseman? Well, I guess if you're going to convince me that Candelario is your third baseman, then I'd say, okay, maybe I'm sticking with it. But now we have Espinal. It's kind of like we have Espinal there. And I'm going to say it. I'll take the auto generator.
I think I would take the auto generator over Santiago Espinal.
Right. So we finally got into a position now where we all feel good about it. You ready for it? Let's all do a little bit of thank the Lord. Shortstop. We like that. 100%. Nobody's hitting the auto generator on there. And then this is where it gets tricky because now if you go to right field, I would hit the auto generator. I would.
I would too because you don't have platoon partners with them. Now, if I had Jake Fraley and Stuart Fairchild as my right fielder, and I don't have to have those guys go play anywhere else. I know that is a straight platoon. And today it worked to perfection. Stuart Fairchild walked twice. He robbed a hit, played great defense. Fraley came in, got a hit and a walk, I think. Like, that's exactly what you wanted. That was what it was supposed to be, but those guys have had to be in all these different spots. That should have been a straight platoon in right field, but it hasn't been that. Those two guys together would be perfectly fine. I don't know if I would hit the auto generator, but right now it's just Fraley, and he's a one-sided player.
But that's who this team is now. That's my point. And I guess the point is more or less like it's not really about right now, but we thought we were going to have, because I think we could have a reasonable discussion about that. You know, people are going to sit here and be like, oh, Nick Krall or whatever, like this franchise is disgusting. They're frauds. They're not frauds, guys. I'm just saying that at the end of the day, like this isn't what they thought they were going to have, and you can't predict injuries. Nobody can. So this is what they're left with. But the team that we're talking about right now, we're auto-generating right field. I'm going to do it too. You ready for this one? I'll auto-generate center field because I don't think TJ, and that's not disrespectful to TJ as much as it is like the way that it's gone this year for what we've gotten. We're hitting the auto generator. It's not been good. Do you agree or no?
Yeah, Friedl was a four-win player last year.
Yeah, but he's not been here.
Yeah. He's been hurt a lot, and he was hurt a lot in the minor leagues too. But it's also part of the way he plays the game that tends to lead to a lot of this stuff.
And I'm not saying it's TJ's fault.
Completely out of his control. I mean, look, I would probably, I don't know. I don't know with him. I think I probably would roll the dice and keep Friedl.
That's fine. That's fair. I mean, I'm not going to say I would hit the auto generator.
But I don't think what you're saying is crazy, which goes to your point of how many times it's even a question that you.
Well, if Friedl was healthy every single day this year, then I probably wouldn't hit it, right? Like, but my point is like it's more or less the fact that I have not gotten any consistency out of that position, and I'll just take my chances on if you're going to give me the 30 other Major League Baseball teams, or I guess it wouldn't be 30, it'd be 29. But my point is you give me 29 other opportunities based off what they've gotten this year, and I'm going to take my chances. And then the last one is left field, and this is where I think that I would stick with it, even though I hate the idea of Spencer Steer being an outfielder. But I love his approach. I think he's a big league hitter. So,
and I think Steer's going to get hot again. I think it's a matter of time before. I think he's proven enough that this is a rough patch for him. I think he's going to get hot, and I don't think he's going to be that player that we saw the first 3 weeks of the season again. But I think this is a guy that as much as anyone, I feel is like a solid 800 OPS guy. I feel like I don't think I have to worry about that.
And one quick thing, I know that here's where I think that I should earn some street cred. I'm not asking for a pat on the back, but I am fair. I don't pick players. I don't try to sell players out in regards to like always having an agenda against players. Some people think that I hate Elly De La Cruz because of the things that I said earlier this year about his defense. Roger in the chat says that Elly leads the world in errors. That play that he made today was a good play, man, and he needs some help. I'll tell you who he needs help from. He either needs help from the third baseman, who was Espinal at the time. Espinal needs to cut that ball off, man. Like, cut across the field and make a play. And one thing, I guess, when you start playing with Elly is you start looking around, and I guess you just expect Elly to make all the plays. I don't know. I mean, why is Will Benson staring at Elly De La Cruz? I'll never know in a million years. I just don't understand how you could be a player, and it's almost like it reminds me of the kids that when they're young, they know they're not good, and they're looking at the teammates and they're looking at someone else to do it for them. They're like, well, I don't want to shoot the shot, so you shoot it. I don't understand how Espinal doesn't cut that ball off and make a nice routine play to first. He shifted over to shortstop for a reason. Elly's up the middle. The ball gets sawed off over the middle. He backhands it. He makes a throw to first. And then heaven forbid the first baseman finally dig out a ball. I mean, and I'm not killing Candelario for it. But just like I'm going to be fair to Elly and say that it's not, I hate to think that that's Elly's fault. I really do. So, crush me for saying it, but again, Elly's a great player, man. He really is. And the one thing that I want to try to make sure that we do, at least on this show, or like you do probably a better job of it than me, but it's just like we don't have to like always just pat this kid on the tail and act like he's the world's best player, et cetera, et cetera. But I also don't want to like get frustrated because the team's doing things that they're not, they're not playing well, and then it turns into like Elly's a problem. Like, yes, Elly swung through a 95-mile-an-hour fastball that I would have loved for him to get a hit on today. Yes, he went 0 for 5. Yes, he made an error based off the box score. But Elly's just, again, he's one of the few guys on this team that you can consistently look at and be proud about that he's on your team. And he plays every damn day. He's available. He's there to play. Marte's not there. Matt McLean's not there. TJ Friedl hasn't been there. CES hasn't been there. Tyler Stevenson's been a no-show for large portions of the time. Spencer Steer had a stretch of baseball where he wasn't very good. I mean, so I don't even need to bring up Espinal and Martini and Bubba Thompson and Mike Ford. But Will Benson. Let's keep things in perspective about Elly De La Cruz, folks. Let's be honest with ourselves a little bit. Elly's one of, if not the only thing on this team that you should be like very proud about as a Reds fan. Our starting pitching's been pretty good.
Yeah, we had said Elly's going to come back down to earth. Like, this isn't, Monday morning quarterback like we said like a week ago. Like, he's been great. It's going to be okay when he cools off and he continues to have to make adjustments and figure it out. It's going to be a season of adjustments from Elly De La Cruz. This is just part of it.
Yeah, this is part of it, and we need some people to step up when we need it the most. And I know India had a pretty decent day at the plate, but you just got to put the ball in play. You got to find a way to put the ball in play when you got a chance to at the end of the game to win a baseball game, Nick. I don't know how else to say it, but yeah, part of it. All right, folks. For those that are wondering on this show for the first time, I've not promoted this a whole lot because I'm getting worried that it'd become like a thing where people just stop caring because it's just not working. Let's try it one more time. We need likes, okay? We have 188 folks in here right now, which is amazing in and of itself, and we thank you very much. And we're going to try to push through this season no matter what. And I really do appreciate you guys coming in and supporting us and having fun in the chat and doing our best to get through the tough times that are Cincinnati Reds right now. But if you could, just hit the like button. Let's see if we can't get to hundo by the end of the stream here, and we're wrapping things up. See if we can't get to 100. But without farther ado, and I always say farther, and I know it's supposed to be further. Without further ado, let's do the Reds MILB.
All right, we'll start off with Triple-A Louisville. Bats won 7-1. Bats have won 6 of 7 to improve to 21-18 on the season. Try to tell someone a month ago looking at the two rosters that the Bats would be 21-18 and the Reds would have the record they have. Carson Spires, he threw the ball very well today. 6 innings, 4 hits, no earned runs, 2 walks, 9 strikeouts. Spires now has a 2.43 ERA in 7 starts this season, 42 strikeouts, just 15 walks in 40 2/3 innings. So there's been a lot of Reds pitchers that have disappointed so far this year down in the minors. Carson Spires definitely has not. Alex Young, he threw another scoreless inning. He's not allowed to run in 5 games during his rehab assignment, only allowed 1 hit in 5 1/3 innings. So, tell you what, if you're a Reds big league reliever, there's a lot of guys that have the potential to be on the big league roster. Blake Dunn, 1 for 5, did have a double. Reese Hines, 1 for 5 with a double. Peyton Burdick, he's really struggling, 0 for 3, 3 strikeouts. Our good friend Nick Martini got the afternoon off. Tennessee, they lost 5-4 to Chattanooga, or Chattanooga lost 5-4 to Tennessee in 10 innings. Zach Maxwell finally gave up his first run of the season. He blew a save in the 9th, and the Lookouts gave up 6 runs in the 10th. They fall to 10-23 on the season. Julian Aguiar, really strong start from him. 5 innings, just gave up 1 run, no walks, 4 strikeouts. He's now got a 2.12 ERA in 3 starts in May, with 12 strikeouts, just 2 walks in 17 innings. Bubba Thompson, he was 0 for 4. He started his time with the Lookouts, now 0 for 12. Only has 2 strikeouts. So it's kind of surprising that Bubba's put the ball in play that many times against Double-A fielders and has not found a way to get on base. That's tough sledding. Tyler Callahan, he walked twice. Tyler Callahan, he's having a great month of May. He's got a 442 on base percentage. Austin Hendricks did not start, came in, got 1 at bat. He struck out. Dayton, they won 3-0 over Lake County. Dragons improved to 14-19 on the year. As mentioned earlier, Jacob Hurtubise, he hit a home run. It was an absolute bomb too. I actually watched more of the Dragons game today than the Reds game. Really, really hit the ball well. Sal Stewart walked twice. Cam Collier 0 for 4, 2 strikeouts. Collier just hitting 189, 268 on base percentage so far in May. Hasn't had a home run since April 28th, so he's cooled off quite a bit. Carlos Jorge tripled in this one. And then last but not least, the Daytona Tortugas, they lost 6-4 to Lakeland. Tortugas fall to 18-15 on the season, but a great day from Alfredo Duno. 3 hits, drove in 2 runs. E. Smith Pineda, he was 1 for 3.
Yeah, well, shout out to Reds MILB. Hopefully at some point we can get hot. We need to get hot soon. We need to get hot soon. Free Hurtabees. Don't say that too fast. Especially if you're in Vegas. All right.
I just got it. Took me a second.
Yeah. Be careful now. All right. For those that are wondering, I know I brought the schedule up earlier. We have a who, what, when, where, and why. Nick, let the people know what we're looking forward to.
All right, I'll just run through the series probables. Reds taking on Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks lost 2 of 3 to the Orioles after they swept the Reds. Diamondbacks 19-22. They are just 9-10 at home this season. Monday, 9:40, Ashcraft up against Jordan Montgomery. Tuesday, 9:40, rematch Hunter Green against Slade Ciccone. And then Wednesday, 3:40 start time, Andrew Abbott against Brandon Pfaadt. So the Reds will at least miss Zach Gallen in this series. I'll have a little bit more information on the Diamondbacks on the podcast in the morning.
That's right. Folks, do us a favor. If you've not already, please download the podcast, give it a rating, give it a review if you've not already. I'm very thankful for the amount of times we've dug into the back end of the podcast, and we've gotten a chance to, for all intents and purposes, to see that continues to grow as well. I think a lot of it comes from folks just spreading the word. So please continue to spread the word. I know it's a tough time, Reds baseball. Maybe people don't want to listen to some Reds podcasts at this very moment, but you never know. You never know. So we are very thankful for all of you. And as always, please go and download the Game Time app if you're looking for tickets. It's a situation where, I think FC Cincinnati is playing pretty well. They're playing pretty well. Maybe you want to go watch. Maybe you want to go down to TQL. Maybe Pacers. I haven't really kept up with the Pacers, to be honest, but they're right across town. I know the Blue Jackets are done. They're toast. But hey, if you're also looking for a Reds game, no better place to go than the Game Time app. 2 clicks, lightning deals. You can also get $20 off your first purchase if you use the code CINCY, CINCY. Get $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. But shout out to the Game Time app. Go and download it.
Yeah, Pacers won. They're going to have a Game 6 at home later this week. That'd be great. You know what else would be good in the area?
What?
Indiana Fever.
Yes.
Get the tickets to them on the Game Time app. Now that would be. You're going to really find a lightning deal for that. That might be the toughest ticket in the Midwest, but
yeah.
There you go.
Oh, I'm gonna dig into that Game 6. Might be interesting.
All right.
I don't know if I've been to the NBA game when we went out with Game Time. Go ahead.
It's been a great series. I haven't been able to watch a ton of it, but man, the energy, the Knicks just bring like a different energy to the NBA than all these other teams. As like a casual NBA fan,
right. Yeah.
That game would be an awesome game to go to.
Yeah. Looks like my endeavor to maybe go check out an NBA playoff game has been shot down by Fergie Fowler. Tough.
It's a work trip.
Tough. It's tough out on these streets, man. All right. We'll get through it, guys. We'll get through it. It's a tough stretch. Boy, has it been tough. I don't really know where to start and how I can ever thank you. You continue to watch this show. Continue to give the Reds a chance. And I'm now finding out that earlier when I hit the intro, somehow, some way, maybe I unpaused it. I don't know. Now I got to restart it. There it goes. But I just want to say that tomorrow is going to be another late one, and we're going to be here. You know why? Because when you say you're going to do something, you do it. You deliver on promises. It'll get you farther in life than anything else they teach you in school. You say you're going to do something, do it. And you do it to your best of your ability. Now, I'd like to think that's what they're doing down in the Reds clubhouse, is they show up every day and they're going to work hard and they're going to do it to the best of their ability. And I'm going to believe that as I go to bed at night just so I can sleep. But I know one thing on this show you're going to get from us, and that is you're going to get our attention and you're going to get our best effort. So we'll be back, hopefully better than ever tomorrow night. Please join us. We're probably going to need it, especially if it doesn't go the way we want. But if it doesn't, we'll still be here. Why? Because we love the Reds. We'll see you tomorrow. Go Reds. We're going to finally win one, I think.